Voie. This is Alka Madan from Global Women Power, and you are on our platform in concerning Meet Our Sheroes. And in this, we invite women of power excellence and we listen to their journey so that we all get inspired. I have a firm belief in that talking to somebody who earned the wisdom over a number of years is more impressionable than reading a book. And today, the way we conduct it is, you tell us where you are today, from where you started, and where you are going.
Well, thank you. I
Both.
appreciate you having me. So where I am today, I'll start with that and go backwards. But I founded the Women in Trucking Association in 2007. I felt there was a need for women to have a voice in the trucking industry. All women, whether they're drivers or mechanics or women who own trucks or women who own dealerships or truck driving schools, we needed to have a voice. And so I started the association. It's a membership based organization, dues. And it's grown beyond my wildest dreams. We now have about 8,000 members in 10 countries. And our mission is pretty simple. It's to encourage the employment of women in the trucking industry, to address obstacles that might keep them from succeeding, and to celebrate success. So we love sharing stories about our members, just like you do with the Sheroes, because when you tell your story, other people look at that person and say, well, if she can do that, maybe I can do that. So that's where we are today. Just a huge organization. The board of directors, names like Walmart and FedEx and UPS, serve on the board because they believe in our mission. But I'll go back. I started the association in 2007 when I was working for a very large trucking company here in Wisconsin. And my job was manager of recruiting and retention programs. And they said, figure out how to attract and retain non-traditional groups. And that included women. And when I started looking around the industry, I thought, this industry doesn't do a very good job of attracting women. They were trying to be gender blind. They were trying to say, oh, we don't care about their age, their ethnicity, their gender. We just hire the best person. But if you started looking at it, well, the trucks were designed for men. The uniforms were men's. I mean, there weren't even women's showers. They were locker room type showers at the truck stops. So it wasn't a level playing field. But there was very little data. And so I couldn't stand up in front of audiences and tell them why or how to attract women. But over the years, that's exactly what I've done. And we found out that female commercial drivers are much safer than male commercial drivers, and that's proven. Take fewer risks, better with paperwork, better with customers. And women in the boardroom are also, and I'm sure you know this, women in the boardroom take fewer risks and think differently and make decisions differently. So bringing that to people's attention and saying, this is how you can attract and retain and advance more women in this industry, the industry started listening.
Hmm. I love you for that.
Thank you.
Because, this is total change of mindset. A woman never thinks of becoming a truck driver.
Oh, absolutely. And so a couple of the things that we've done, I found out that the Boy Scouts had a supply chain patch. So we actually worked with the Greater Chicago, Northern Indiana Girl Scout region and created our own patch, supply chain patch, and the curriculum that goes with it, as well as an activity book called Scouting for Cookies. And it talks about how the grain goes from the field to the bakery in a truck, bakery to packaging in a truck, packaging to warehousing, and the final mile is the Girl Scout. We want girls and boys, but we want them to look at the trucks on the road and say, those could be my cookies in there. That could be the milk that I'm going to drink with my cookies. We also created a doll because there wasn't a doll that was a truck driver, again, to encourage young girls and boys to think about a career in transportation. And one of the things I'm really proud of is we we call it Whitney. Women in Trucking is WIT. We call it WIT. So Whitney is our driver ambassador tractor trailer. It's an educational trailer. And we take it around the country to trade shows and events. And inside there's a hands-on learning environment with touch screen TVs, like, do I have it in my DNA to be a driver? But the best part about it is the simulator that's in the front of the trailer, and people love sitting down and pretending that they're in a big truck. So it's very popular, but it's just to introduce people to careers in transportation.
Hmm. And where are you going from here?
Well, I actually retired this year as CEO, but I've stayed on to still do speaking because that's my passion. My passion is to share the message and still work doing research, write blogs, things like that. So, and also I've got a couple books in my head that I want to write as well. So maybe one will be about my journey, but I actually thought the book that I'm going to write is going to be about female founders in the
Hmm.
transportation area and talk about what was that spark that made you start a nonprofit, and what was your journey like? And then I'll include my story in that book as well.
The day one I started this organization, and I was just struggling with the idea, how to bring women together. It's not easy job too. So I just said, okay, I'm going to select 21 women, and they will be coming on the stage and will be sharing their story. And then that was the beginning. And all those women, they brought their families with them because they will be talking about the story on the stage. And I will say, from out of 21, maybe 20 women cried on the stage because it's the first time they were telling about their story.
Aw.
Nobody listens to your story.
It's touching. It really is. That I love hearing things like that.
Yeah. And then, even now I'm having tears in my eyes. And then, when I was listening to them, like in these interviews also, I get lost. When I listen to you, I get lost. I say that nobody knows what it takes to go on the stage and tell a story because there's so many minutes and seconds, when you can change your mind and you say, no, no, this is beyond me. But then even then you persisted.
It's
That's,
true.
yeah.
It's true. And when women share their stories, other women, first of all, uplift them, but secondly, say, maybe learn from them, and it sparks something in them that says, wow, I hadn't thought about that. And and it hit home.
And so now, how many women total in this industry?
Well, in the association, there's about 8,000. And at our last conference, we had about 1,800 attendees, which is pretty interesting when you have a women in trucking conference. We call it our Accelerate conference, and 85% are women. So the men feel outnumbered. And one man told me he was on a panel and he said, wow, I was outnumbered by women. I said, great. Now you know how we feel at the trucking events, right?
And which are the different countries?
So the cool thing is I in a lot of countries. So I've spoken in Sweden at a truck show, Vietnam. We have members in Japan, a lot of members in Africa, Australia, New Zealand, um, obviously Canada and Mexico. So we're working on expanding further as well because I do get contacted by people, Poland. We have members in Poland who will contact us and say, we love what you're doing in the United States. So how can we replicate that in our country? And I am totally happy to share what we know about what attracts women into the industry and why do women leave, and how to promote women and what are some of the unconscious bias, that we need to be aware of so that we're not holding women back. And so I'm the first one to say, I'll share everything I know with you because that's what we do to lift up everyone else, right?
Hmm. And what about third world countries?
Not
Not yet.
not yet, although I was contacted by someone in Pakistan
Hmm.
recently, so we're working on it.
Because I also have my mark in different third world countries too, because I'm working on anemia, making women aware of anemia because it's a silent disease and educating them on, food habits and things like that. So I have many countries known to me. Most of them are third world countries. So I will just like to pass it on because this is a good employment opportunity.
Absolutely. And thank you.
Yeah. So that I will keep in mind and will contact you later on.
Thank you.
Anything interesting, challenging? Um,
Well, I will tell you that starting a nonprofit in 2007, which was during a recession, is not an easy task. And for anyone out there thinking of starting some kind of organization, I will tell you that you have to establish your credibility. People have to know that when you say, well, this is our mission and this is what we're going to advance, that you better do that. And a lot of people would join the first year and they'd say, I'm going to watch you. And if you don't do what you say that you are, set out to do, we won't support you. So obviously, the growth has been tremendous. I mean, the first year, my goal was 500 members, and we hit 500 members the first year. So to have 8,000 current paid members is great. It could be much bigger. We just need to attract more women to support the mission. But that's the biggest piece of advice I give people. And the other piece of advice is you really have to have a passion because people can see right through you. So if you don't walk the walk, if you just say, well, this is what we believe in, people people can, when you have passion, people pick up on it. And over the years, a lot of people said, I want to join your association because I love your passion, Ellen, and I want to support your efforts. So I would say, do what you say you're going to do and make sure that you have passion for what you're going to do. Otherwise, you can't make a nonprofit succeed.
Because when I started nonprofit, the same thing, the credibility issue. People think that you are going to do some sham thing and then do something behind it, right? And so everybody's question was, what is in it for me? Even family members, they will say, why don't you spend that much time in your business rather than in nonprofit? So what is in it for you?
Well, I will tell you, for me, it's watching young women entering this industry say, wow, I didn't know that. Or men too. I when I stand up and give a speech, the best thing I can hear is when someone said, I hadn't thought about that. And so whether it's women saying, I hadn't thought about that career, like maybe being a diesel tech, or being a dispatcher, being in safety, but for men to say, I didn't realize that's what was happening, especially an unconscious bias. And so I love hearing that. But what's in it for the members, just like any other association, they have to feel a part of a community. We have a huge social network. Once you join and you get into the backside, it's called the exchange. It's a social network that's for members only, and they connect on there and learn from each other. So you might have someone whose job is DE&I at a large company, and then someone else whose job is DE&I, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and they can reach out and connect and share best practices. So it's a great way to network. And also, like any association, we have member benefits, discounts on products and services that our corporate members want to share. So I mean, and then we're starting chapters, so the conversation can continue from the conference throughout the year. So it's really staying in touch.
Hmm. And how about having a big women organization? How
How
about it?
how about
Because,
it?
yeah,
um,
women only.
well, it's wonderful. I mean, it's and since I started Women in Trucking in 2007, there's been a lot of other associations popping up that have copied us. My response to them is, why don't you join us? Shouldn't we stick together if we all have the same mission? But when you start something and people see your success, then they want to replicate it, which isn't that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. I mean, but my response to them is, why don't you join us? So women really need to stick together, and I can tell you that for the most part, we do. But there are certain times when women, we are our own worst enemies.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. We don't have any other risk, from the outside world, but we don't get together. I say the same thing. Why don't we join? Because we need to be strong together. Not like, I can do the same what you did. That doesn't serve any purpose.
Right.
But this had been my hurdle too. Because I think, everybody has a role to play in an organization, and we shouldn't be competing at all because we all need to collaborate now,
Right.
right?
And really I've read books. There's a book called In the Company of Women, and it talks about how a lot of times women are not looking out for each other, and that really breaks my heart because it should be a sisterhood. And when I see we do an event every year called our Salute to Women Behind the Wheel, and we do it at a huge truck show. When I see these female drivers hugging, and especially minority groups. I mean, there's very few Asian or Black female drivers. So when they see another person who looks like them, they're hugging and saying, "Oh, wow, we're going to stay in touch." So not only are they a minority because of their gender, they're a minority because of their ethnicity. And so it is a sisterhood. And I love that. It's so heartwarming to see people making those connections and staying in touch throughout the year.
Mhm. And as part of the members of this organization, do they have to wear some different uniform or something like that?
No, we do give them a pin to wear, but we do have an image team, and our image team is comprised of drivers who do ride-alongs with legislators and regulators, and we give them shirts so that they're easily identified. They also work at our conference or volunteer at our conference and help at trade shows and things like that. So we give them all shirts, but um, not the members as a whole. But that's I've always thought about maybe a vest or something that people could wear that identifies them and, easily recognizable, right?
Right. So the way it works is that you are creating employment, or you are asking the women truck drivers to join your group. How does it work?
So we have both corporate and individual members. So a member could be Amazon. Amazon's a member, and that counts as one member. But there could also be an Amazon driver who is a member. So there's corporate and individual as well. The drivers receive different benefits for being a member, like invitations to things that are drivers only. The corporate members, more or less, they get exposure. So we link to them, we give them the right of first refusal for any sponsorship opportunities, maybe some exposure on national TV or in the media. So the corporate members are much more visible, and they also have access to all of our white papers, all of our research, the data, and things like that. So a corporate member does benefit from all the work that we've done in better understanding how they can attract and promote more women in their companies.
Hmm. So while we are talking, I just found out a way to create employment for women. I started something called Community Kitchen. It is being run by the women for the women, kind of, pregnant moms, single moms, like making specific type of food for them. So one project is running at present in India. I started from India. And
Wow.
so I was thinking that, one can create basic employment by offering, this job in kitchen, because you don't have to learn anything. You can go and start cooking.
Mhm.
So that way, I'm trying to create employment also. But then do you also do the same thing? Like you create employment as well?
The companies who are members do. They're the ones who hire. And so we do have a career center on our website as well, so that people can go there and find jobs from companies that are much more female friendly. So, but it's not us necessarily, it's us helping the employer get that exposure.
Mm. So there is some, handshake in this.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Very nice. So Mitch, here is Nancy.
Hello.
Hello. Hello there.
Mm.
I'm actually out of the country and I somehow there's a clock confusion with my phone. When I put the new SIM card in for the Wi-Fi, I think the vendor adjusted my clock when I didn't want him to. So I finally figured it out what's going on.
So she is in India, visiting India.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the projects which we are running. So I thought, you go and then bring more awareness. So she does everything. She connects with you, connects with people. So that's what basically we do. We connect up. And if you will send us all the important material you have, and if you're really serious about opening up now in India, so she can talk to people while she's there,
Absolutely. That would be wonderful.
right, with the government organization or non-government organization. And this can be a good beginning for you.
Absolutely. One
Yes.
of the things that we wanted to do is have chapters and groups in other countries. So, and we want to support them.
So I wanted Nancy to tell you that how many times I asked you, when am I meeting that trucking woman? I did not understand. Because it really intrigued me. So, and I'm very happy with this because you have opened up a field, or maybe I will also never think about it, like let's knock at women's door and ask them to be truck drivers. Good.
And they could. And
Let's drive a truck ourselves.
well, and we also have a scholarship foundation that helps pay tuition for drivers, also diesel technicians, mechanics, women in leadership. We call it, if you're advancing your career in supply chain, we have scholarships, and then in safety as well. So we have both the Trade Association Women in Trucking, and then the nonprofit 501c3 Women in Trucking Scholarship Foundation. So we love helping women.
Wow.
Yeah. And how many staff do you have?
At Women in Trucking, we have about 12, but we have an association management company. So there's technically about 6 who work for Women in Trucking itself, but then another 8 who work for the association management firm, and they're on retainer. So they help us grow.
So
You
most
have
of
about, what, 7,000 people with you, right?
8,000.
7,000 members? How
Over
many?
8,000. Yeah, over 8,000.
Wow. Yeah.
so most of your
Go ahead.
information is on the website.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Can you name your website so that my audience also know? What is the
It's
website?
womenintrucking.org. So women in trucking, spell it out, and it's plural, womenintrucking.org. And they can also find out about the Scholarship Foundation by going into our website as well and just click on foundation. Lots of information. There's a new page on our website that I'm really proud of, and it's called Driver. So anyone who wants information on becoming a driver, everything's there. It's in videos, it's in links, and any questions that we get asked about, how do I choose a truck driving school? How do I choose a carrier? What is training like? Things like that. That's all on that page. So, and it's free to anyone, male or female.
I'm getting this idea that you can do Uber for women truck drivers.
Kind of, yeah.
Sky is the limit because you got a strength in your hand now. Like 8,000 is not a small number.
No, and I'm really proud that the percentage of female drivers in the industry has gone from about 3%. In our last survey, it's about 12%. So we are making a difference.
Perfect. Nancy, you have any question? I think you just woke up for the interview.
I was waiting for the alarm and it wasn't going off. And then I was looking at the time zone and it said an hour yet. I don't know. I'll have to figure it out with our tech staff, what's going on. Even the clock, the calendar invite said 1 p.m. What's going on? It's supposed to be at 3 p.m. So I just have to adjust the settings. I couldn't sleep because I thought I don't want to miss this event. I actually stayed awake just in case. I'm glad I did. It's worth it.
Right.
Well, thank you. And it's recorded, so you get to watch it from the beginning, right?
That's right.
So, so thank you very much, for sharing all your insight and inside story. and the wisdom. And I'm definitely going to surf on your website and learn more things. And I'm serious about opening a chapter in India while she's still in India. And we will just put the word out and then see who picks it up, you know.
I really appreciate that. And I will follow up with an email as well. So,
Right.
and please let me know when this is available so that we can share it with our members as well.
Definitely.